Out Black Mask.
It takes me a while to like realize what I liked about a movie and what I didn't like about a movie. So usually a week after, like I'll say, "Wow, I really liked that," getting out of the theater. But then like a week later, I'm like, actually, did I really like that? Was I just in the
Mm-hmm.
moment? And then so a week after I see a movie, the opinion can shift pretty heavily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Black Mass was really good, and I'm excited. I think Legend comes out on the 2nd of October.
What's that?
It's another biopic about a gang. This one's about like the mob in London in the 1960s with Tom Hardy.
Oh, I think I saw a preview for that. We
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
gonna.
talked about that on the stream last week too. I can't even remember.
I don't know. I'm definitely gonna go see it. There's a couple movies coming out next month that I really want to see.
I'm trying to
Legend.
I'm trying to open this file and my computer just totally freaked out.
Okay,
Um,
no problem.
it
Doom
started
says
running
it's about
really
the
slow.
falling off the initial rush, and yeah, I mean that's true. That's true.
Okay, here we go. I don't know why it just suddenly decided to run as slowly as possible to open this file, but it is kind of a big file. Did I work on these last week, or I was working on UI a little bit last week, right?
You
I
worked on
just,
UI the majority of last week, but you
yeah.
didn't work on the weapon stuff last
Yeah,
week.
it was this was just a long week and now I can't remember anything. So
That's cool. So yeah, we're gonna do a short stream today to give Baker some mental health room.
yeah. Yeah, I've been wearing myself out a little bit this last week or two, and also as we probably mentioned before, like I'm getting married in 4 weeks now, exactly 4 weeks from today. Um, so there's a lot of stuff to do. I guess I can show my wedding invitation. That's sort of art related, since we're
Yeah,
doing an art stream. I'll do that really quick. Since
I showed it on one of my streams.
Oh, well, what you haven't seen yet is the because I sent you a save the date, right? But we haven't we
Yes.
haven't actually mailed the real invitations, which are running
Oh,
really
okay.
late. I know because I'm just behind on everything, um, but why can I not find this file? Um,
While you're looking, is that a broom icon?
oh yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay. I just wanted to point it out.
Okay. So this is just the file for printing, but that's what I did for our wedding invitation.
Need to wait 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's flowery and has lots of cursive fonts, but it's
Oh,
not too girly or anything.
no, it looks
Um,
really nice, Baker.
yeah, so that was I kind of the way I described it was I went into like art zombie mode and did all of the flowers in one go one night, just like cranked them out. Because I was kind of dreading it. I originally just had like a solid blue background, so
You even got an
yeah.
off from Doom.
So that's the deal, and yeah, we've been doing engagement pictures and all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff too. So all the things you do when you're getting married and stuff.
Right.
But um, so yeah, that's invitations and wedding decorations and stuff have been occupying a bit of my time, plus Delvers and everything else. So, but I have, well, I was working on the UI a little more and realized, like, well, we were going to make some revisions, but it was going to be a lot of work for Matt to like redo the icons and vectors. So I thought, why don't I just, because I'm thinking the UI needs a little more character anyway. Like if you zoom in on something like this, see how the edges are, and this is how I draw everything in the game, where nothing is like super fluidly curved like that. It's all kind of like this angular that sort of look. So I
Hmm.
thought, well, what if we made the UI a little more like that to just fit the vibe of everything else? And then I draw these pretty cleanly, so we could just use these as icons. And just for reference, the let me find an example here. Like the previous icons were just single color, like this, just flat black when we were originally drawing them. But they're usually going to show up as a lighter color or something in the game, and we need to be able to tint them. So I'm like, okay, we need to switch all these to white. So I started that process, and I thought, why don't I just add like a gray to differentiate some details? And I decided to do 2 grays, and basically just like make these a little more pictorial. So so previously these would have been much more flat, like well, I don't want to bring the file up because my computer might really die then. But originally, this icon would have looked almost just like this. So it would have just been like a flat white, like no, like there was a little bit of detail, like it might have had a, you know, a line up the middle. I think it probably did have something kind of like that. So I mean that looks pretty cool, but I thought, well, so if you're, since in the UI we decided to show just the icon and not the weapon sprite, which has several benefits, like we don't have to load it as many times. You can actually tell what it is, because sometimes the knives in the UI would be so small, or like a spear would be so large, it just looked really goofy. So I'm like, let's just do icons. I'm going to make the icons look slightly more like the real weapon, like give them a little more detail on character, but still keep them pretty flat. And, you know, just redraw them in white, and then we can, like as an example, I'll just tint one of these, and I'm also changing the look of some of them a little bit. Like this one used to just have there's a name for it, but the killing tool, like the assassin weapon, used to just be like
right.
that. But I decided, why not just make it look like a sai? It looks a little more interesting. I mean, a sai was going to be one of the variants anyway, but I think this is like, you see that and you're like, oh duh, ninja weapon, right?
Right.
So yeah, if we do a color overlay on this, something like, well, let's do something kind of crazy. So like a high tier, you know, weapon might be pink. So we would just do the multiplicative overlay in the game, so it would look like that, or whatever. So that's, and so,
So
if I
you
use
could
those,
you tell Rarity by what was in your overlay.
yeah, the colors. Well, and we do in the menus, like I do want to show, like actually write out the tier, so people with color blindness don't have issues differentiating tiers. Let me actually just open up the UI so we can reference that while we're talking about it. But just to, because we were getting so many things in the UI, I decided, you know, we can't show everything all the time. So I went on a mission to try to make the tier colors slightly more colorblind friendly. That you can see examples here. Like in this case, I'm not actually tinting the weapon because it would just be too much color, but we're tinting the bubble and the ammo below it. And I think that looks pretty nice and subtle. But then the green in here would be for the tier, and I was toying with the idea of doing like the B minus B plus system versus like Roman numerals or just straight numbers. But I was working on tweaking the colors. I've got these panels up here. I was trying to tweak the colors to make it more colorblind friendly. So I think the topmost rows are the newest ones. So let me just, I think if I turn on colorblind mode, you guys will be able to see it. So tell me if this updates for you.
Sure thing.
Actually, it looks like it's not even working for me. It's only doing it on one monitor.
It'd be nice if we had Anna here to lend a word.
Yeah. Can I change monitors? You know, it looks like I can't change monitors, unfortunately.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's only doing it on my one monitor, and I probably, well, I don't know if I want to switch OBS on the fly because it might crash for all I know.
It is not a very happy thing when you try to change things around.
Yeah, I'm afraid I would cause problems. So actually, I can just, let me throw this on the other monitor. I will take a screenshot of what it looks like.
Sounds good.
So this is kind of crazy because it's like, imagine, you know, instead of seeing the full spectrum of like blue and purple and green. Basically, it's you get a gradient from like blue to red or from yellow to blue,
Hmm.
depending on what kind of color blindness you have. Um, so sorry, I suddenly like woke up like 5 minutes ago as I was starting the stream because I had a little adrenaline rush trying to get started here. Now I'm super hyperactive and just like jumping back and forth between every topic under the sun. Okay, so this would be an example of typical, your most common red-green color blindness. So imagine what I just showed you, like, but this is what the spectrum looks like.
All right.
Sorry, that was a Halloween thing. Whoops. Okay. So there's that, and then I think, did that change?
You need to give me 30 seconds.
Yeah, so these two types of, there's a different kind of red-green color blindness. You probably can't tell that much of a difference, but basically both of these, like, you can see yellows and blues, and everything in between is like brown and gray. And then if you're, let's see, what's the name for it? If you have tritanopia, which is really rare, then you see this. You see like blues and pinks and reds, but no yellows. So, yeah, it's actually, like, it's pretty hard to make this spectrum look like, what I was trying to do
Oh,
is
yep, there it is.
keep the browns on the left side, so like the poopy colors are the bad tiers, and then the middle is blue, and then as you get to high tier it turns yellow. But in between blue and yellow, like there isn't a, like it basically turns gray. So like you can see here the tier 7 on this top row, that one doesn't look like a really high tier weapon. It looks like the poopy low tier weapons, and that's just a little bit unavoidable if you want, like, if you want a purple basically, or like I guess that would be magenta there. So I could do like a purple and then switch to orange and yellow, which is kind of similar to what WoW does, and I mean maybe that's why they do it for all I know, because WoW goes like white, green, blue, purple, yellow, or gold. So, anyway.
Makes sense. I mean, it's cool that you guys are taking into consideration this much stuff for color blindness. So
Yeah, it's,
I don't.
well, and if we can kind of achieve it somewhat for this game. Well, also I noticed that Destiny has colorblind settings. It's kind of interesting. Like you can choose, like, here is my type of color blindness that changes all the UI colors and everything, which I thought was awesome. Like, I would love to support something like that, but it's, it would take a lot of work for us. Honestly, I think it seems like you should just do it through a shader. Oh, thank you. I just, the guys just went to lunch and brought me a smoothie because I'm dying of starvation.
Did they go to the Sonic?
This is from Big Mama's, which is a coffee shop, sandwich shop kind of place down the street.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, honestly, like I was saying, it seems like the easiest way to do something like that would just be to use shaders to like make all of your reds yellow or whatever instead. But then you run into problems where, like, if all the reds and yellows look the same, then, how do you differentiate between them or whatever, so it's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah.
So what I've been trying to do is just, provide other visual cues, like if something's on fire, obviously the shaping looks fiery and kind of jagged and, like flames, versus, well, I don't know, like if you're red-green colorblind, so like red and green both kind of look brownish, then the, like leaves or whatever would be the green element, and so it actually looks like leaves instead of fire, or whatever the case is.
Right. There may just not be a way around that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So, and we'll have text and things like that in the game too to help with it, so. But anyway, I was working on making the weapons a little more pictorial, so instead of, this was the original flail, so I gave the flail some spikes, connected the chain, so I'm making everything more solid. So instead of having the little gaps in between and making it look flat, it looks a little more dimensional. And that's also been leading me to thinking about the weapon categories. Because I think, well, like right now, you know, the rogue would have primaries that are like daggers, swords, or short swords and rapiers, that sort of thing. But I was wondering if, so while we could keep these weapon categories, I wondered if I should make sort of like, almost like meta categories. So like, let's just say the rogue has proficiency in light blades. We would have light blades and heavy blades, light bludgeoning and heavy bludgeoning, or whatever. And so you would have proficiencies in this broad category. I don't know where we would kind of show that in the UI is the only problem, but it makes, I think that would make a little more sense to people than seeing like this huge list of like, well, here's your, you know, all the things that are the 10 weapons that you can use as a primary or whatever. But they're both kind of complicated, so I mean, we'll probably just have a subscreen that just shows like, here's your list of primaries, and the rogue would have, you know, a little row of you know, whatever these weapons are that the rogue could use, which I kind of like that too. I mean, just looking at it like this, like that's a cool little lineup of, you know, maybe not broadswords, I don't know, but it's a nice little lineup of weapons.
Yeah, it's definitely visually impressive. And I think
it reminds me of this image I did for Kickstarter, which I should dig up because it's one of my favorite things I've drawn for Delvers. It'll take me a second to find it, so we can keep talking while I look. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea of just this like cornucopia of weapon types is really appealing to me, even though I realize like it's probably not very good game design in a lot of ways. Like, it's very thematically appealing.
Right. But what we're really interested in, Baker, is the broom.
It would just be a melee weapon that does like curse effects. So I was thinking like, it's basically if we had a witch or you know, whatever class, like they would use brooms and these death rattles. So you see the rattle has like a skull on top. So basically both of these would be, you know, could do some melee damage, but just do curses or debuffs is like really what they would be used for.
Right. Too bad Vacant Psalm hasn't been around for a while. A forum user who really likes the witch.
Oh, okay. I was trying to remember what I assumed it was something to do with the witch. I remember Vacant Psalm. I just wasn't sure what you were referring to, but yeah, that makes sense.
What's root flood?
Well, the roots and branches, like basically I've had trouble coming up with what the elementalist weapon should be. And I think it was always some kind of a staff, but we talked about several different ways of doing the spell effect. So I was thinking like, I like the idea of the elementalists using these kind of natural, like rods of wood that basically make things erupt from the ground. So you'd have some that like shoot little like spikes of fire kind of out of the ground, or a huge geyser of fire, or just like a big kind of random flood. So that's sort of what I was working on. So these would just be like subtypes of the elementalist weapon.
Right. Makes sense. Frond, branch, and root.
Sorry, I'm trying to find that little sketch.
It's cool. We missed the triptych too. Looking at the ones that are on screen.
Oh, well, and the triptych would probably be like just a name of of one specific. Like the licks would be a wand type that would just shoot like a small elemental bullet or whatever. It's on here somewhere. I made all of these for the Kickstarter, for a big Kickstarter update back in the day. Oh, here we go. This guy. That's basically the favorite thing I've ever drawn my whole life.
The class weapon one?
It's just the rogue like or a little rogue like character kind of opening his or her
Oh, I see.
cloak, and it's just like full of random weapons and
Mhm.
potions and things.
It's
But
cute.
then yeah, also the one with the class weapons here, just like this assortment of different swords.
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty cool on a sub menu. All of those little, I guess, cartoony versions of the Delver.
Yeah, doing little character
Yeah.
doodles. Yeah, I
So
hadn't
for
really
each
thought about
each
putting it in
character
a
you
menu,
could
but that's kind of fun.
do that. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen any of these, Baker.
Oh yeah, this was before the Kickstarter was over. We released this update that talked all about the game mechanics.
I could have seen it then. I just don't remember. It's been a long time.
And a guy who works with us doing some animation sometimes, Thomas, made animated versions of at least a couple of these. I know he did this one.
Oh, cool.
The rogue would kind of jump and like swing the sword over and over like it's beating something to death.
Mhm.
And I think he did some others, but now I don't remember which ones.
Yeah, I like the little
Well,
cartoony versions.
yeah. Excuse me.
I mean, I remember
And
seeing some of them in other Kickstarter updates. I just don't remember seeing
yeah.
these specific ones.
Yeah, this was. I like doing the little witty things like this, like trying to come up with how do you draw something that illustrates replay. So I drew the rogue just like running on a treadmill,
Right.
um, or at the end like just shutting a book, like you're done with a story. Because yeah, some of these it was hard to come up with a visual metaphor. Oh, the dead Delver. I like quite a bit too. I know you're sorry you're like 30 seconds behind, but
Yeah, it's.
um,
I'm sorry. I'm yawning too. I woke up like 10 minutes before the stream.
oh, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's not your fault. It's my fault for not being an adult.
So yeah, actually, after talking it through, I think doing the like saying light blades and heavy blades and stuff, I think that's just going to confuse people more. Like, because then
Mhm.
not only do you have to memorize like, well, my character uses light blades, but you've got to remember what goes in that category. So like swords and rapiers, but not broadswords because they're heavy blades or whatever. So I think that's actually more confusing. Um, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to illustrate these so that each weapon type looks pretty unique. Like, how do you make a saber look different from a katana? So I gave it a more curved like hilt and curved crosspiece, and this little like sash or ribbon tied to it, so it looks a little more swashbuckling-y. um, and this gives us a little more reason to have like regular like hatchet axes versus double-bladed battle axes. Like, you can tell that there's a big difference between the two.
Mhm.
Um, and I added a trident weapon type, which is basically a spear with a wider hitbox. And then there are also pole arms, but they might have a combo where you like stab and then swing and then 360 or something like that. And some people might have seen on Twitter, I posted the spade icon, which I really enjoyed doing, and I realized, like there was Shovel Knight, and
Yes.
I think ever since I played Link's Awakening, I've loved the idea of having a shovel in your equipment and being able to just like dig in the ground.
Mhm.
So what I wanted, well, we probably won't let you just dig anywhere and like unearth stuff in the Delvish world, although that would be pretty cool. If we did like a more open world, like, with an overworld sort of thing, I would probably let you dig everywhere. Like, I would really lobby for that feature because I just love that idea of being like this paleontologist of your little digital world. But
Mhm.
what I was thinking is that spades would be kind of like spears, but they actually strike lower. So you could, if there's an enemy that's like creeping under the earth, like a little, I don't know, a mole creature or something, if you swing a sword, you can't hit them because they're underground. But the spade would actually hit the ground and hit them inside of it. So Same thing with like, well, basically, there are only certain weapons that hit the ground that kind of go that low. So if anything is like flat on the ground, like a small snake or a mole, swords, spears, things like that won't hit them, but hammers will, because hammers come overhand and hit down into the ground. So same thing with spades and. I think we had the cleavers set up where they do an overhand sort of strike and hit the ground too.
Right.
So I'm kind of just like thinking, like rethinking some of my weapon types, making sure that we've both covered all the bases and didn't go. Well, if anything, I'm probably adding more subtypes now, but it doesn't really matter in terms of data management. We're already set up to support as many types as we want. But I was wondering if did we need to separate? Like we have machine bows or crossbows, but I wondered like, do we need to separate small bows from long bows or something like that? Because like functionally there wouldn't be a huge difference in the game, but it might make sense to just go ahead and make two different kinds. And then I've got to, I have to figure out like how do you illustrate those differently? I would probably do like little curved ends for the short bow.
So, are we going to confirm that you guys are doing a Shovel Knight class?
No. I mean, if they wanted to partner up with us, that would be fun. But no, I wrote something on Twitter about how all indie devs are in love with the idea of shovels as weapons. Because there's some other game that I've seen, I forget the name of it, but I see mock-ups on Twitter a bunch with it's like a platforming kind of action RPG with pixel art, and the character uses a shovel as a weapon.
I don't know that one.
It doesn't look like Shovel Knight or anything. It looks more like the graphics are kind of more like realistic-ish, but all pixel art. It looks pretty cool, but it's very small team, or maybe like one person working on it.
Well, speaking of one team games, I picked up Undertale the other day. I haven't had a chance to play it, but I think I'm going to do that this weekend.
I don't think I really know anything about that one, so you may have to fill me in.
It's like definitely looks a lot like it's inspired by Earthbound, and you can, instead of fighting enemies, you can like negotiate and get out of battles through talking and like that sort of stuff. It looks interesting.
Who made it?
Let me find out, because I don't know the guy's name. Pretty sure it got kickstarted as well. Studio. They don't have Toby Fox is the name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Out of 1,900 reviews on Steam, it has overwhelmingly positive. Killing is unnecessary. Negotiate out of danger using the unique battle system. Time your attacks for extra damage and dodge enemy attacks, and style reminiscent of top-down shooters. The way the battles look is very Earthboundy.
So you said you've been playing it, or you're about to start?
I'm gonna play it tonight. Okay. I think.
Sounds interesting.
Doom says, I think grappling tools and whips have the same lying S shape for their moving parts, like ball and chain, etc., which could confuse players into thinking these weapons play similarly.
You said the grappling hook? Yeah. I mean, I guess. Well, the whip and the grappling hook are pretty similar because they kind of go straight out in front of you, more or less. It's like a very narrow wedge, where the flails would be more like a spinning sort of thing. So I mean, I guess I could change the direction of the cord between them or something like that. It actually was really hard to figure out how to draw the chain or the lash. But yeah, I mean, whips and grapnels look very similar, so I probably need to change one of them. I mean, I can just make whips not have the little 3-pointed thing at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not usually the guy to go to for the art stuff. I mean, Doom's not wrong though. There's a possibility that it could confuse people.
Yeah, I guess. Um, yeah, I'm just. Besides drawing something like I'm trying to think how else you would draw a flail if you just did. I mean, you could just do this with it or something, and do the whips as like a as the S curve. Um, so I don't know, or maybe I might be able to come up with some way to draw the chains in between a little bit differently. But there's only some. I mean, since I can't really put much detail in there, I'm just not sure. I'm just not coming up with any better ideas right this second about how to draw them. Except, well, this was one of the earlier versions, but it didn't really fit in the bubble that well. It wants to go outside the bubble a little bit. Just doing like a shorter, like flexible chain sort of thing in between. I guess I just realized I didn't turn the music on this week.
Oh, that's alright. We're going for a short one today anyway.
I can try to get it running. I don't know if it'll come through or not.
OBS won't like it.
Well, if it picks you up, it should also pick up iTunes, but sometimes that isn't true, so who knows.
Doom asks preview build.
Well, maybe in a couple weeks, especially when I'm gone, I can persuade Kobe to do a couple streams and show off the newest version of the game. I guess besides working on effects, and I'm gonna send a Kickstarter update soon. I guess it's the 26th or something. Yeah, so like another 4 days. I need to send it out by mid next week. But so yeah, we were doing effects, and then Aaron's also, and Aaron's not here today, but he was also working on how to explain, like basically adding more posts to walls so that it's like it simultaneously makes things look aesthetically better and optimizes quite a bit, because we can display pieces of walls. And so if, like, say you've got a wall that's like 3 screens long, it was originally, I believe, rendering that whole thing, even if part of it was off the screen. And so we're now doing it to where it only renders what's on the screen plus a little bit as it needs to. So it should actually really optimize big rooms quite a bit, especially for slower machines and everything. And since we're trending toward what can be like huge randomly generated really complex rooms, that's also pretty necessary, because sometimes he would generate some big rooms that would just kill his computer sometimes. And his machine's a little bit older, so that's not a huge surprise. But it's actually good for him to test that stuff on the slightly older machine, because then we know, like, oh, like that's, this definitely isn't optimized, or this is, generating a room this big is going to take 5 minutes instead of 2 seconds or whatever.
Right. Sounds good. We gotta ask every week, or we'll feel like we have failed.
Can you hear the music, do you know, or I guess you probably have the volume off on the stream, huh?
Yes, I do.
I guess anyone in the comments, let me know if the music is too loud, or I'll probably turn the volume down just a little bit to be safe.
Doom said stream sounds good.
Okay.
I like the. Is that supposed to be the longbow?
I was thinking this would be a short bow, make it look like a little, like a squatty little recurve bow.
Mm-hmm.
So I can make it, I'll make it a little less wide here.
So shorter range, higher damage.
Yeah, or maybe just like, actually I would probably go less damage, but faster moving. So like a longbow would shoot like a big chunky arrow that would kind of sail pretty slowly, so things could get out of his way more easily, but it might hit harder and probably go farther. The bad thing is, like, if we had lots of projectiles that you could outrun, which I'm sure you guys know because you played the sorcerer so much, but it's tricky trying to get a projectile that moves fast enough that your character can't run faster than it, but it's also not instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's
well, I played the sorcerer a lot. I don't know about Doom.
Okay, I thought you guys both did.
I'm sure Doom has played the sorcerer a lot. Both of us have played the game a lot, so. And I've played every class, I think, except the assassin, really, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly just because the builds that the assassin are in weren't as replayable as the one that all the other classes were in.
Yeah. I'm sorry yet again.
It's all right. It's not an indictment against you. It's just a statement. Just part of the paradigm that we see ourselves in.
Well, we're supposed to have a meeting next weekend also to talk about the build distribution page on our website, which would allow everyone to download basically every version of the game that's worth playing. We probably won't put every single build from the past up, but then that would also, like, we could, I guess the other goal would be, like, I would really like to put out more frequent but more experimental builds, so the kind of thing that we don't want to put on Humble or, say, Steam because it might be broken, but would just be like, hey, anyone who's a backer or has purchased the game up to this point, you get access to this page, you can play, like, whatever weird thing we're working on that week. So it's just kind of like a backers only benefit, but it takes so much work, and I think confuses people when we release these weird builds on Humble. Like if we release a cool but slightly buggy weird build on Humble that doesn't have, like, that has placeholder graphics or something, then we get a new someone buys it on our site through the Humble widget, and they get it and they're like, what is this? This doesn't look like the video I've seen. And, like, we have to explain, like, oh, look, it's because we're doing this experimental thing. But if we put it on our website and just put, like, on the link, just say, like, experimental build, graphics placeholder, play it at your own risk, basically, then people know what they're getting into. Like, it's, they understand, like, hey, this is just like a crazy beta variant.
Doom says you can put it in a shit class and he'll play it because he wants to master it.
He'll do what? Sorry.
He'll play any class you put in, even if it's shit.
Okay.
And his example was a character like the Lost from the Binding of Isaac, but just with the Mangler. Which, for those of you who haven't played the game nearly as much as Doom and I have, the Mangler is one of the worst weapons you guys have ever conceived. So
you're gonna have to refresh my memory about what that did, because I just write the
it's like
data
this.
and
It's a
sometimes don't test them as
shitty,
much.
slow, low damage, low range dagger that you gave as the base weapon for the rogue in one of the builds. Like every build you've put out, we've done less and less damage.
Oh, well, I think that will change.
That's
but
the
idea
some
is
actual criticism from Vaz.
Yeah, we
Just maddening, the Mangler. Hate it with a passion of like 1,000 suns. Just the worst.
I will say, well, I still want the characters to not start with weapons, so just start barehanded, which honestly in the case of the Mangler you might do more damage that way. But we're gonna build like armory onto the jail, like a side room. I mean, the room was there, I think, in some builds. It just didn't spawn many weapons. But the idea is that it'll spawn lots of mediocre weapons that you can just take for free. So you can start with something, or you can buy something from a shop once we get shops in the game.
Right.
There's going to be a shop in the jail more than likely, and it won't have the best stuff, but it's better than starting with just starting like barehanded.
Doom is telling me the Mangler was supposed to be utter crap, which I know it was. I know the Mangler was supposed to be crap. Doesn't change the fact that it was crap and it was one of the only weapons you could use.
And well, and some of those weapons, for anyone who doesn't know, some of those weapons will actually do damage to you.
Yes, Doom mentioned that the worst weapon is the Sorcerer's unarmed attack, which can do damage to yourself.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we. I had like some of those things. They're so interesting conceptually, but then just don't play well. Because it would make sense that like the sorcerer is so weak that he hurts his own hands when he punches stuff. And this is just honestly, I really have forgotten some of this stuff because we've changed the data so many times. I've lost track, but and we haven't really been working on weapons or the weapons system so much recently, which includes the barehanded attacks and all. So yeah, I really like that idea from a conceptual standpoint, but probably not a good idea in the grand scheme of things. But at the same time, like if you got one class that like you don't want to play them barefisted, or it would be an incredible challenge to play them barefisted, I think that's okay. Like, but if we start the player off barehanded, then like is someone totally confused because they die in 2 seconds by punching boxes or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So we would almost have to give you a warning message, like when you chose that character, the game tells you like, find a weapon quick because you know this character breaks their hands when they hit things.
Right. Well, I've met some of the people who play these kind of games, and making it very clear to them is probably not a bad idea. That's my nice way of saying they're dumb. If you are playing the sorcerer barehanded, you are doing something wrong. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if we start all characters barehanded, you may not have a choice, at least like for the first you know, several minutes of gameplay with the new sorcerer or whatever.
I don't think it takes any time to explain to people who are playing a game in this day and age that a sorcerer is not the character you want to take out with unarmed damage.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Pretty sure if you have bought a game like Delver's Drop, you kind of already know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I think it's the tricky thing is just like, you know, when you take that kind of damage, you don't necessarily know where it's coming from. You just see like -1, -1, and you're like, why am I dying? Like, oh, it's because, you know, it's just it's one of those things that is hidden enough that even if you're an experienced player, you might not realize. Like, even if you realize you're dying, you may not know how that is occurring.
I mean, you should denote where damage is coming from. And I know with the damage numbers you can kind of do that because you color them, which may or may not be good for color blindness. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right now we don't have a color for self-inflicted damage, I guess is the one.
As a player, I would have made the suggestion as well. I really think you should
do a different color for
damage that you or your weapon is doing on you. I think that's really important because as you were saying, it's really hard to know, especially as a beginner player, where that damage is coming from, and that's accurate.
Yeah. I mean, I like that idea. I'm trying to think of what color would we make it, or how would we make it apparent? Because I think more colors probably isn't going to help that much. Like, partly because of color blindness, and partly because there are just so many color-coded things already.
Well, here's since I've seen what you guys are planning on to do with the weapon or the damage numbers, I think using a different symbol than a minus would go a long way.
Yeah,
so like a jagged line for damage that you're doing to yourself, kind of like a shattering, like you're shattering your bones or something like that.
Or I mean, maybe we could just pop up a symbol, like so it's, so maybe not even with the number. Like let's say the number is just the regular old red -1, but we pop a symbol over your head that shows like a bleeding hand or something like that.
Yeah, any way to denote that you're doing damage to yourself is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, we could just, I mean, we could even just do a through the text system, like the messaging and narration and stuff, just pop something down that says like you're, you know, that weapon's damaging you, or you're taking self-inflicted damage.
Yeah, and Doom says like a hashtag or an asterisk or a tilde, which I was kind of going with the tilde. He says he likes the tilde. I like the tilde too. That's what I kind of meant with like a squiggly line instead of a minus sign.
Okay.
That way it's not that way it's not intrusive. Because having a message pop up saying, "Oh, well, this weapon's gonna hurt you," that's a little intrusive. And having a thing pop up, like, even if you just use the dialogue symbol that goes "ow," you know, like saying, "Hey, that hurt me," that's not very indicative, because like any damage is an ow. So people would probably be confused, like, why is it saying "ow" when I'm taking damage from this area? That doesn't really explain it. But having like a tilde or something like that instead of a minus sign denotes that it's not the same kind of damage, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's innocuous enough, and I mean, I don't necessarily think you have to tell the player that they're damaging themselves. I think that's something that they should learn on their own. But the way you learn that is through what the game is showing you. So just being told, "Hey, this weapon deals damage to you," that's a little handholdy, I think. That makes it a little too easy for players.
Yeah,
I
it will
think
be in the weapons data in the submenu.
Right. But you know, for new players, who's gonna go through the sub menus?
Right.
That's something that an older player will do. So having it as a symbol that pops up when you take the damage, if you're noticing something, you'll be like, "Oh, well, what's that? What is that symbol?" And you'll go, "Well, let me take a look at the weapon," and then it's, you know, it kind of teaches you to start looking at the weapons that you pick up. So it's in a way to, I guess, nurture your gameplay.
Well, and I do want to have a pretty thorough tutorial area in the game. It'll just be kind of part of the jail, like off to one side, where you go through a series of, I mean, basically endless drop style, where you'll, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. You're just going to drop down from room to room, and it basically teaches you every lesson you need to know. Like, you know, basically it'll have like a pedestal with a weapon that damages you. You pick it up, you have to use that weapon once, and then it, you know, the NPC or whatever, or just like the narrative text pops up another message, like, you know, see the squiggle line next to that number? That means that you damaged yourself. Like, some way to explain that and tutorialize that early on.
Makes sense. I mean, I'm definitely harsher on the tutorial side. I don't want like a paradox tutorial, which is garbage, but I also kind of, you know, I like the fact that roguelikes are kind of like the self-discovery sort of thing. But I mean, at the same time, it kind of frustrates me in a lot of new roguelikes where it's like, well, here's the game. It's like, okay, well, what do I do? Well, you figure it out. It's like, I don't even know the buttons, you know? It's like, well, you should have used your special attack there. It's like, what's the button for special attack? Well, you didn't figure it out. It's like, what do you want me to do? Sit there and press every freaking button on my keyboard until I find it? That's bad design. It's not good design at all. So, well, we've been going for an hour. If you want to wrap up, I know you said you wanted to do about 30 minutes.
I'm doing okay. I was pretty exhausted earlier, but like I said, I think I woke up a little bit, so we'll go a little longer. Keep chatting. I feel like this is a productive conversation.
That's good. I'm happy to do whatever. Just going off what we said last night.
Was last week your 24-hour live stream, or are you doing one
this
week too?
I did it last week. I think it went okay. A couple people from that are here. Doom, Nade, what did you guys think? How did you guys feel about the 24-hour live stream? Did a lot of Fallout New Vegas, finished it. Well,
Yeah.
I beat the main storyline. It's not finished in any capacity, but
Yeah, you didn't 100% it,
yeah. Um,
which you
played.
probably should not.
Yeah. I'm gonna get some of the DLC and do that. Heavily considering getting Fallout 4. Got a lot of people who came around to watch. There's Mike from Classy Dicks who hates New Vegas. He says poop Vegas. I wasn't very fond of New Vegas when I started. I'll admit. I'm not a huge fan of open world games. But as I got deeper into the game, then I started enjoying it more. So, I might pick up Fallout 4. And we played a game called Bloody Trapland. Nadrog13, who was or still is in the chat, Mike from Classy Dicks, and he says that's the highlight, and it definitely was. I don't know if you know what that game is, but it's kind of like a super Meat Boy kind of platformer.
What is it again?
Bloody Trapland.
I feel like I probably have not heard of it.
Like I said, it's like a Super Meat Boy game. It's like super hard platforming, like super twitchy.
Yeah.
I want to be the guy kind of gameplay, but it's also got multiplayer, so you can play with other players, and you can jump on their heads and kill them.
Of course.
So it was mostly just Mike murdering Nadrog13 and I, and it was a lot of fun. Actually, I really enjoyed it. It was pretty enjoyable, even though I'm not a huge platforming fan.
Sounds like my kind of game, probably. I was a pretty big fan of Super Meat Boy.
It's definitely not as fast as Meat Boy.
Oh,
It's definitely-
I liked Meat Boy's fastness, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty. Yeah, and Mike did win most of the levels. I kind of felt it was a little too finicky. Like you had to be you just had to be too precise on a lot of of puzzles.
Yeah.
And most of them were still pretty well designed. So, and Doom was pretty happy with the murders. Chat went pretty ballistic over the game, so I would definitely agree it was the highlight. And I played some of the Plague Knight stuff from Shovel Knight, and probably could have not done that. Both being
you didn't like it that much?
Just tired and
Oh.
not great at platforming, and it's got weird controls for the jumping and stuff like that. So I got a little irritated at it. So, and played some Isaac and the regular stuff, and was exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's easy to stay up 24 hours. I don't want to say I do it regularly, but I kind of do it regularly. But it's different when you are streaming and have to keep up a conversation and, like, I guess, be entertaining, which I don't think I'm ever entertaining on stream, so it's really difficult for me. But
Yeah,
I like
I definitely couldn't do it. Like, both staying up 24 hours, I could probably do without a lot of trouble, but trying to be personable and talk and play video games coherently, probably not on my agenda of capabilities anymore.
Yeah, it got pretty difficult in like the last 50 minutes. Then we played a game called Agario. It's like I'm trying to think of a good way of putting it. It's like you play as a ball, and you eat other balls, and you get bigger, and you can like split up. And it's supposed to be Agar.io, but I think everyone just calls it Agario. And that was fun. I played it with a bunch of people from the stream to finish up, and it was pretty cool. But I made it cells. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it was fun. I made it the full 24 hours, which I didn't do the last time we did a 24-hour live stream. So.
Yeah. How long did you sleep after that?
most of the day.
Most of the week. That would be me.
I went to bed around like 6 o'clock, and I woke up at like 1 o'clock and ate, I guess what you'd call dinner. I was up for a couple hours, and I went back to bed, and then I went and streamed on the Monday.
Yeah.
Only for a little while, but I still streamed on Monday. So, and there might be a 24-hour live stream in a couple more months. So, we'll see how that goes.
I'm sorry I never have time to watch any of your stuff.
Man, it's cool. I understand. You're a busy man. Hopefully, by that point, what most would call dinner, I ate sand. I don't know what you'd call eating at like 2 o'clock in the morning. That's dinner to me.
What do they call it at Taco Bell? Isn't there a name for it?
Fourth meal.
I see. Yeah.
I probably shouldn't be as proud as I am that I know that, but Taco Bell is probably my favorite fast food place.
I used to like it quite a bit, and then I had to stop eating there.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't eat there. I haven't eaten there I haven't ate there in a couple months, which is good probably.
I'm now like allergic to probably everything in every one of their items, so I definitely.
Yeah, flour tortillas factor in pretty heavily into everything that they make.
Yeah.
So you might be in trouble.
Like, I could probably get some kind of well, their taco salad even comes in like a flour shell sort of thing.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I used to get those quite a bit.
Yeah, when we were at PAX, I saw Baker blowed up like Mr. Steven from Isaac. That's not true. He does. I don't think you have that severe of a reaction.
No. No, it just makes me feel sick for a few days if I have wheat or dairy, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm not allergic to anything that I know of. And then if I am, I haven't found it yet, which is pretty nice. But you can develop allergies.
Yeah, I used to be able to eat everything.
That's what scares the crap out of me. It's like one day I'll just develop an allergy. Doom asks, can you order the taco meat alone? And I'm sure you can.
Why would you want to?
Maybe shove some salad into it. Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to do that.
At that point, basically, I should just go buy some ground beef and taco seasoning and toss them in a pan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say buy ground meat. Taco Bell beef is like a grade above dog food, so I do not get beef from Taco Bell. I only order chicken from there. Even if it's garbage chicken, it still has way to be insensitive. I know, I'm a jerk. I'm terrible.
What were you being insensitive about?
Your allergies, I think.
Oh.
And they may be true. That may be true. Beef flavored soy, yeah, basically is what Taco Bell meat is. I wouldn't just buy a big bowl of Taco Bell meat and have it on the go. He's saying the point is if you have no other choice, because why else eat Taco Bell otherwise? I don't know, some of their stuff's alright. The Crunchwrap is pretty good. I mean, this is you're European Doom, so why eat any American fast food? The answer is you shouldn't. It's bad for you. But it's convenient. And Taco Bell's pretty cheap comparatively to the other fast food places. You can get like 5 things for the same price as you'd get 1 meal from McDonald's. So, I guess that's not really an argument in favor of it. Because they're cutting corners somewhere if they're going to be that cost efficient.
Yeah.
Well, I know you tastes like protein. Shut up, Mike. I know you don't eat fast food, Doom. Do they even have Taco Bell over there. When I was in London, I didn't see, or when I was in, I guess, the UK in general, I didn't see any Taco Bell.
I would really hope that like some American restaurants have ridiculous names in Europe. Like I want it to be called Taco Biscuit or something like that.
Taco Biscuit. They do sell breakfast now, and they do have a biscuit taco. You laugh, but your reality is here to make us look foolish. I know that the Burger King in Australia is called like the Hungry Jack.
Well, and I've even in the U.S. there are several chains that they have different names in different regions. So like Carl's Jr. or
Carl's
whatever
Jr.
is Hardee's. Yeah, and
Yep.
I didn't know that until I was like a teenager or in college or something, because I'd only ever seen Hardee's. Or if I saw a Carl's Jr. one, I think I saw one once, and I was like, why does this logo look just like the Hardee's logo?
Yeah, and the Carl's Jr. here on their cups, it actually says Carl's Jr. / Hardee's.
Yeah.
So.
Aren't there? What are some other ones like that?
I have no idea. I have
feel
no
like
idea.
there's a grocery store chain or two.
Oh,
that's
well.
like that too. But it's just like companies buying other companies and merging or whatever.
Kroger's in Ohio and the East Coast is called Fry's out here.
Yeah, and we don't. But I think Kroger owns, like around here we have Price Cutter and Dillon's, and Kroger owns one of those, and I have lost track.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a couple other places like that, but I can't. The Hungry Whopper. Yeah, I have no idea what they call different meals in Australia, but I'm almost 100% certain that Burger King is called Hungry Jack's in Australia. Australia is a weird place. Don't go. Well, I mean, a lot of menu names from around the world are different. There's the classic, what do they call a quarter pounder in France? Because they use the metric system. So Royale with cheese. One of my favorite movies, Pulp Fiction.
I was hoping it was going to be called like, you know, 1/3 kilo or something instead of quarter pounder or whatever.
No, I have no idea what they call it.
the 1/8 kilo or yeah.
Yeah, doing the conversions, I have no idea. They had a Cadbury Egg McFlurry in England when we went, and that was awesome. So yeah, I mean, different fast food chains have different things. McDonald's of India doesn't have any beef patties.
Yeah.
They're all like chicken or
I feel like I might have told this story before, but I went to Hawaii with my parents it was actually like their 25th wedding anniversary or something like that. They decided to take our family. Like I was in college, like it was during the summer, so that was like the last vacation I've ever gone with my family. So anyway, they wanted to do something cool. We go to Hawaii, and my mom's wanting to like do multiple things this day, and I'm like, I'm dying, I want breakfast. Like I was getting super cranky, and I see a McDonald's on the horizon, like down like a half mile down the road, and I'm like, please, can we go to that McDonald's right now? And she's like, oh, we really need to get our like snorkeling gear. I'm like, oh, okay. So stand around in the snorkeling shop for an hour, still dying of hunger. We finally go down to the McDonald's afterward, and they had just stopped serving breakfast. So I'm trying to look at this bizarre Hawaii McDonald's menu, and it's like, full of like noodles and things. So I get some kind of noodle cup, which was horrible. It was basically like some kind of ramen stuff. But I really wanted breakfast, and I was like, they don't have anything that looks breakfasty. I guess I'll try these noodles, and that was a bad decision. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Like it was, I think that was the first time I had gone to McDonald's that didn't have your standard, and I mean, I guess maybe the only time, but didn't have your standard American menu.
Right.
Midwestern menu or whatever I should call it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's appealing to a lot of the immigrants that live in Hawaii that are different.
It was definitely Asian inspired, like kind of Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen some menu items from the Hawaiian menu, and they all look pretty interesting. Like you said, the ramen one I've seen. They have loco moco, which is like egg and a burger patty over rice.
Sounds pretty good.
I've had the Mick Poutine before in Canada, and it was pretty good.
See that? I don't know why they don't have that in the U.S. Actually,
I don't know.
there's the bar across the street from us that just opened. They now do lunch, and they have this crazy poutine platter that apparently is good. But it's and they have like cashew chicken poutine or something like that, which Springfield is known as the home of, like, well, basically like American Chinese food, cashew chicken. Like other cities will call it Springfield cashew chicken because apparently it originated here.
Yeah, I've seen that on menus before.
Which I think everyone thought was a myth, but I guess it has been proved that proven that that it did originate here.
Doom says poutine is an abomination. Yeah, but it's a delicious abomination.
So if you think that's an abomination, you should even just see like I'll see if Matt can take a picture next time he gets it. But the cashew chicken thing.
Well, if I'm ever in Springfield, I will definitely order that and take a picture. I went somewhere. I forget the name of the restaurant, but we went there when my sister graduated from college, and it was a brisket poutine. So it was like just a regular poutine, but it had like slices of like really nice smoked brisket.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone at the table, was busy eating, and the check came, and I tried to pay for myself because I hate people paying for my food and stuff because it's like a gift. I don't like gifts. And everyone's like, "Who ordered the poutine?" And I was really self-conscious, like, I did. It was the cheapest thing on the menu, oddly enough, which is another reason why I ordered it. And everyone's like, "How was it?" It looked gross on the menu. I was like, "It's amazing stuff. I can't believe you guys think this is gross." And Doom is, of course, saying I'm bitching about tuna pizza, but I'm fine with poutine. Not comparable. It's not comparable. Poutine is French fries and cheese and gravy. What's wrong with that?
Across the street does it's like cheese curds, I guess.
Yeah, it's cheese curds. It's not actually. It's not cheese. It's cheese curds. Which, I mean, it's more or less cheese, but I just did a poutine food challenge because I'm doing those on my channel now. The ultimate poutine, which was like maple syrup and the gravy with Canadian bacon, and it was really good. I would eat it again.
So this is a food challenge to eat it or to make
yeah,
it?
eat it in a set amount of time. It's not my challenge. It was a challenge some other channel made that I was doing.
I see.
And I won. Soggy shit. If you eat it fast enough, it doesn't get soggy. Just saying.
Okay, well, I've been trying to fiddle with the Nux for a while here. I don't know if they look good or not.
I think they look good.
Do you think I don't know if it's very clear either.
They are hard to see what you're trying to go for. I do admit.
I mean, I might just have to draw like just the Nux and not the fist, but I wanted to do like make it just an outline sort of thing for barefisted, so it looks distinct from something that would be like a glove, like a set of claws.
Mm-hmm.
So those, I think people would be able to tell
when you zoom out, it looks a lot better. Actually,
the Nux or
the Nux look better when you zoomed out.
Yeah, it looks a little more 3D than the other weapons, so I might just let me actually. Well, I might just look up because Nux have that. They have the finger holes usually. I'm doing kind of a different style. So if I did this, everyone knows what that is, and I forget if it does. I guess they usually do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I might end up doing that instead.
Bless you.
And I mean, Nux were a kind of gauntlet, but I'm thinking about splitting some of these because, well, like I was telling you last night, but I guess I didn't mention on the stream. I'm actually, because we ended up with so many weapons, and I think people enjoy or will enjoy the variety of the names and everything, but it's just, it's going to be impossible to do that much artwork. So what I'm doing is trending toward maybe slightly more weapon categories, just adding a few here and there, but doing just like one or two drawings per category. So I'm not going to draw like every single type of axe, which Kobe told me I should have done a long time ago, but I was really attached to the idea of doing these like unique looking axes, you know, so like 10 different axes in the axe category, which is fun, and like, you know, calling something or like I think one of the lowest level hammers was called the pillow fighter or something like that, and it was like, it kind of looks like a pillow on the end of a hammer haft. So that will sort of go away, but it's just, it wasn't going to be sustainable to draw all of them, especially since we've, you know, had these other development challenges and everything. So we'll probably still have a hammer called the pillow fighter, but it's just going to be a really low tier, just weak hammer, and it will colorize it differently or something, you know, make it pink or whatever, so it's so it looks like fluffy and soft.
Right.
And so then I might, you know, just do like maybe 2 or 3 hammers, like one that looks a little more badass, but generally they'll all look like this. And I think that'll also help with user recognition, because if you're walking around and you see this thing on the dungeon floor glowing, and it's, you know, some bizarre, like, you know, a hammer that looks like a pillow, like, how do you know that's a hammer and not a mace or whatever? And so that's the other thing, is I'm trying to, basically the sprites that you pick up off the ground are also going to look much more like these icons, and vice versa. So that's part of the reason I'm adding slightly more detail on some of these icons, and then something like, you know, because if this is a gauntlet here, which I was going to clean this up a little bit, but if this is a gauntlet, then you want all gauntlets to look like a gloved, you know, hand covering sort of thing. And so that means I can't do Nux in that category, so, well, let's just make Nux their own category. They're just weaker, have some other properties. Maybe they have like lots of uses, but they're, you know, or maybe infinite uses or something like that, but they're just really weak. So they basically replace your barehanded attack or whatever, if you want to use them that way.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that's a good thing you've brought up, because that's one thing in Borderlands that I have a problem with. Like, the assault rifles and the shotguns, a lot of the times it's really hard to tell which is which. And the same thing between SMGs and pistols. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I really have that problem exactly, but I could see what you're saying. Like, sometimes I do have to kind of look for a second, I guess, on the fly. Like, yeah, I mean, especially some of the once the pistols start having like bayonets hanging off of them and stuff, they do look more like machine guns. Yeah. And yeah, the shotguns and the assault rifles, well, I guess, like, at least at the level I'm at, a lot of them look pretty distinct, but I think earlier on some of them do look a little more similar. Or like sometimes assault rifles and sniper rifles look kind of similar.
I usually don't have too much of a problem with sniper rifles because the barrel is typically longer and they're more thin. But I think especially late game assault rifles and late game shotguns in Borderlands look very similar, because they all have, you know, protrusions and weird things going on with them.
Are you talking about the original or Borderlands 2?
The Borderlands 2. Borderlands 1 is a little bit better.
Yeah, actually, this is something I've been thinking about, because I've been playing Borderlands 2. I think I mentioned on the last couple streams.
I saw you playing it earlier.
Yeah, I was playing it a bit, like, late last night, probably like 3 in the morning. So I liked Borderlands 1 a lot, so I think I beat it once and almost beat it a second time with a different class. I didn't go all the way through that second time. But then, so I got Borderlands 2, and was kind of like, a lot of it just felt weird to me, and it's actually been a lot. It was really hard, I think, when I was playing as Zero the first time, because I like the sort of sniper stealth characters typically. But it seemed really like, especially the first boss was for whatever reason just impossibly hard. And I don't know if I just wasn't used to how everything felt a little different or what it was. And I'm playing Krieg, the bandit dude, now that I'm playing again, and it just, I don't know if I got better or they rebalanced, or maybe if Krieg is a little easier or something, but the game just seems quite a bit easier this time around. It feels more like Borderlands 1 did, as opposed to the like huge spike in difficulty that I experienced when I switched from 1 to 2 originally. And now it feels more normal, like maybe a little bit too easy in some ways. And I've probably over-leveled a little bit because I try to complete all of the side quests and everything. But I haven't been grinding. Like I think in the first time I was playing Borderlands 2, I was almost like having to grind a little bit, it felt like.
I feel that way about the pre-sequel with the first boss. I'm playing with another guy, and we fought him, and I was like, okay, because I played it with my sister. After the first boss, and I was like, okay, this guy's a pain in the ass. We killed him like in 2 seconds flat, and he's like, are you sure that guy's a pain in the ass? I'm like, I don't know what they did, but
I wonder if they rebalanced at some point. And I was originally playing on Xbox, and now I'm playing on Steam, and I wonder if there is some difference.
Yeah, Krieg's easier because he's got less reliance on weapons, a lot of damage skills that don't relate to weapons, which is probably true. Doom is saying, and that's probably true.
Well, but when I was playing against the first boss, I didn't really have many, like I didn't have much of my skill tree yet because I just was at such a low level. So, I mean, I do like I kind of wish Zero played a little bit more like Krieg, or had like you have to really level up Zero's melee ability, even though he has a sword like a katana. You've got to really level up his melee through the perk tree to actually make it super effective. But like I mentioned a couple times, I really love any first-person game that has melee combat. So like why do I always forget the name of that game? It's the one, there were a couple, Xenoclash 1 and 2.
Oh, right, the weird first-person.
Yeah. So I thought it was super cool.
Game.
Like I would love for there to be more games like that, and I understand why they're not as popular. But anyway, we talked about that on a stream a few weeks ago. So while I would love to talk about it again, probably not not as interesting. But anyway, it was, I guess, talking about like Borderlands and its balance. It was just so weird to me that they had this character with a sword that didn't actually play very well with melee until you leveled the crap out of him. But Krieg starts out that way, and his special, like I really like his special ability where you go into this like berserker rage, and every time you kill someone, it refills your health. So they want you to keep just like, and you can kill a lot of people in one hit, especially if you, like I've leveled up his melee a little bit, and you can actually throw his axe, which is pretty cool too. So you're just like chucking axes at every enemy you see, trying to keep your health filled the whole time. Because usually I do that when my shield goes down most of the time. So so if enemies are kind of in your face, you want to go into that mode so you do lots of melee damage. But it's really fun, and I wish that was that had been an ability for Zero. Like I didn't really like the stealth hologram thing very much.
Yeah, Doom is saying Borderlands 2 is worse than Borderlands 1. I don't agree. I think there's definitely some. Yeah, is worse than Borderlands 1. Yeah, I don't agree.
It feels more grindy. And it's like the enemies got a bunch more AI, which is kind of cool. So encounters are more unique, but there's so many more enemies that feel like bullet sponges. And of course, I think the first one, I survived every encounter by running backwards and shooting as fast as I could. So, which is kind of like kind of a lame way to play a game, but I mean it was definitely fun.
Apparently,
Borderlands 1 felt more like a horror game to me in some areas and in some respects. What were you saying?
Brick apparently in Borderlands 1 is a melee character, not as versatile as Krieg, but
yeah, and I never played him.
Yeah, he was asking if you had, which I guess.
Oh no, I probably played for like the first couple levels just to try him out.
Mhm.
But I played Mordecai, the sniper dude in Borderlands 1, and then I started a Siren playthrough and got most of the way through. Because
Lilith
I
is
wanted to try something different. And I actually kind of liked her invisibility thing for whatever reason, and then
phase
I mean,
step.
basically they took all the classes and their special abilities and kind of like mixed and matched them. So like in the in the sequel, the big dude is like the dual gun wielder, the Gunzerker or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, what can we do with a big dude that's different so he's not a melee character or whatever? And they took the Siren invisibility thing from 1 and gave it to the sniper in 2. So
Yeah, but it
mixed
plays
those two
different
together.
because the invisibility, the phased walk is
Mhm.
not the same as Zero's. I forget what it's called because I've never played. I don't think I've ever played Zero.
Yeah,
but
I can't actually remember what it's called either. And yeah, they do function kind of differently, but it just felt
And
I
you
don't know, just
can
something was
you
weird
can
about it.
you can spec your phase walk to like do fire damage as you go, which is
Or
really good.
as you come out of it, I think, right? Or oh no, that's
As
right.
you
could-
walk, you
could,
get like
run through.
yeah, you get
enemies,
flaming
basically.
wings.
Yeah.
And
Like
Maya the
that
Siren
was a
in
lot
2
cooler
has a
than-
similar thing.
And I haven't played the Siren in 2, but that was pretty cool in the first one. Like compared to Zero's invisibility thing, like he's basically powerless. He gets a bonus damage when he comes out of it, like when he becomes visible again. Like, well, basically whoever he shoots, he does bonus damage to them. And when you shoot or melee while invisible, decloaks you or whatever. So the first time you take a hit, but but it's kind of. I mean, I guess it makes more sense in terms of balance, but I would kind of like to take a few like pot shots like while invisible. Like that would be kind of interesting to just like sneak around and bullets coming out of nowhere, but then the enemies know where you are, sort of thing. But you can try to hide again. But it's just like you're invisible for a few seconds, and the moment you fire, you're visible again, and then they're just right on you. So like it just felt like the only reason you ever want to go invisible is just to run. Which didn't make me want to use it that much, as opposed to Lilith, where in the first one where you go invisible and like start causing damage to everybody.
Yeah, I definitely think they turned the specials a little bit. In 1, the specials felt like you were supposed to like do it once per combat, whereas in 2, I think they really geared the specials to like be built around. Where in 1, I don't necessarily feel like they did that for every class.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Doom's not wrong. Weapons in 2, the RNG is not great.
Yeah, it's,
but
I mean, both of them you would get a bunch of trash weapons and then suddenly get something that's amazingly powerful and stick with it forever, which I never really liked that very much. I mean, maybe
I
nobody
felt
does, but-
I mean it definitely felt less like that in Borderlands 1, but I still feel that there was a lot of that in Borderlands 1.
Well, and Borderlands 2, so this is actually what I wanted to talk about, was sort of some of the balancing stuff with ammo. Like, Borderlands 2, you have way less ammo, it feels like, for all weapons,
Yep.
or at least it's way harder to upgrade the ammo. You have to do it with Iridium, which I'm fine with, but it's pretty rare, so you have such, like, even if you upgrade the rocket launcher, like, you have so few rocket launcher shells or missiles or whatever you want to call it. It feels like it feels more balanced in a way, but it's not more fun. Like I mean, maybe it was like a PvP balance thing, but I don't play multiplayer, I just play single player, and I kind of want to just like, just start cranking rockets at the enemy. But if I've only got 12 and if I have Iridium, I'm like, well, I want to save up for more backpack slots instead of more ammo most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Borderlands 1, you could refill your ammo via, like, you had ammo regeneration, and they took that out.
Yeah. Well, and
Which
but I really liked some of those more interesting abilities, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it felt like, yeah, Borderlands 1 was a little more just like, they tried a bunch of cool experimental stuff and then they tightened it all up in the second one, but in the process of tightening it up, I felt like it became less interesting. Like, I never want to use explosive weapons because they all shoot little slow moving bullets that can't hit anything in the second one. Where the first one, like, explosive weapons were awesome because you would just do headshots and people would just die immediately because you do critical damage with an additional bonus to from explosive. But there's no way you can ever do a headshot with explosive weapons now because the bullet moves at 2 miles an hour.
Yeah. When in the pre-sequel they actually have a stat that raises bullet speed.
Yeah, and I've oh no, actually I was thinking there was something like that in 2, but I guess I have not seen that in 2. But Krieg does have some pretty cool kind of stuff that you can do. Like they were building, they wanted you to make a build, I think for Krieg specifically, in some cases where you basically rely a lot more on your special ability, kind of like you were saying, where they want you to use a lot, which I actually don't use it a ton. But I mean, basically the way to do, like, this is not the way I want to play, but I think the way they want you to build Krieg is to have him rely not so much on his shields, but rely on your doing, like, you can do overkill damage that returns, like if you kill someone and you've done more damage than you needed to kill them, some of that is returned to you as health. And then, like, every time you do your special ability, you're regenerating health. And some of his special abilities actually make his shield stay down longer so that you can use, basically, like, get more bonuses while your shields are down by doing melee and things like that. Which it's kind of like a high risk way to play, and maybe I'm just not quite that good. But I also don't, I guess I don't really like to play RPGs in a high risk way.
Mm-hmm.
But
I like risk reward.
yeah, I guess I really don't like dying. I would just rather never die because I want to be able to afford the cool loot. Like, I'm kind of in it for, because the gameplay moment to moment is fun, and then my secondary objective is to get the coolest guns possible, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, I've got to have money, so that if a cool weapon pops up in a vending machine, I've always got enough money to buy it. But if you're constantly doing high risk stuff and dying a lot, it's taking all of your money, and then you can't afford stuff. And so I think that's why I don't want to play high risk. But I should probably do start a new game at some point and do it, like, specifically a high, like, how high risk can I make this, and just, like, not, like, never buy anything. Like, if I set a limitation for myself like that, like, I'm never going to buy something out of a vending machine, and I'm only going to carry, like, exactly these weapons all the time, or something like that. I think that would be interesting. Like, start a Krieg build and just start with, I'm just going to have an assault rifle, a pistol, and and whatever, and try to really rely on melee. Like, I could kind of be down with that, and just, like, basically, like, just have no money in your account all the time, because you're just trying to base your gameplay all on what you've got equipped and your health.
Right. I don't know. I don't know about challenge runs in Borderlands, which is what it sounds like you're proposing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be kind of a challenge run, but for me, it would be like I feel like I tend to make rules for myself, or sort of like weird goals that I think isn't common to most players. Sort of like I was saying, wanting to have so much gold in my account at all times type of thing. Where I think most people probably don't worry about it quite as much. So I'm just sort of a weird player. But if I sat down and told myself, like, okay, I'm gonna do things in this specific way. I'm gonna try to play a melee character, try to do, carry these type of weapons only, like basically not even let myself use sniper rifles, because I'll pretty much always fall back on sniper rifles if I can, even with Krieg. And they don't really want you to play that way, but there's no downside to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to make that rule for myself, like, okay, no sniper rifle, as, like, basically, like, no shield or very little shield, and regenerate my health based on a special ability. Like, if I set those rules for myself, I guess I could probably get with playing that way and just try to build up the skill to do it.
It's definitely a different way. I mean, it changes the paradigm and introduces new stuff, which I think is the idea. I mean, that's why I call it a challenge run. because I think that's what a challenge run should be.
What I was working on here was trying to do a
Yes.
little person silhouette for, so that I should probably give it eyeballs. But I wanted to do equipment items, because we've decided to add equipment slots probably. So I was thinking like, okay, I would do a little head silhouette sort of thing, and then put different, like basically if you see the head, you know that's a head item, and then anything that's drawn on top of that is, you know, different items that go on your head sort of thing. So for like, this doesn't really look the way I wanted it to look for the, it doesn't really look like a bobble-headed Delver's character at the moment, so I'm trying to make some adjustments here. Are you needing to get off the stream, by the way? Sorry, we're going longer than we said we would, because I got all
I'm happy.
hyperactive.
I'm happy to go the full time. I have nowhere to be.
Okay.
I did a bunch of recordings yesterday, so finished up Guild of Dungeoneering.
Oh yeah. I actually bought that on Steam, but I have not played it yet.
That's fun.
At your recommendation.
The end level's kind of not really an end level, and I'm they released some DLC, which is what prompted me to finish. But you have to replay the entire game to unlock it, which I think is kind of not good.
You have to replay the entire game?
The DLC unlocks at a certain place in the story.
Oh.
Because it's on a challenge level. It unlocks on the second chapter, which is it's the same difficulty as the second chapter. The problem is, it's like I've already unlocked the second chapter in my playthrough.
I see.
So it doesn't unlock, you know, there's no, there's a word for what I'm thinking of, but my brain is mush, and I can't think of the word. There's no post unlocking is the way it goes. Doesn't grandfather you in. So if I wanted to do the DLC, the missions for the DLC, I would have to play the game again. Yeah. Which is fine. I wouldn't mind playing the game again. I enjoyed my time with it, but I just finished it, so it's not like I'm in any rush. And I have no idea if they're going to release any other DLC, so I might as well wait until they've released all the DLC they're going to release and then go through it again. If that's the way they're gonna, that's the way they're gonna do it, because you only get 3 slots. So,
yeah.
But I liked it. I liked it enough. It kind of got gimmicky at the end. It turned way less defensive and clever and more like Rocket Tag.
Rocket Tag, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's a term where it's like you both, it's whoever hits first and hardest wins. And you know, that's fine. It's the way the game is, and it like I said, the game is enjoyable regardless of that. It's not. I mean, that would be my main criticism, but I still enjoyed it, and I would still recommend the game because I thought it was a lot of fun. And played some Tiny Keep as well, which still uncertain how I feel about that game. Just playing a lot of roguelikes.
So what do we think about this system? I'm wondering if it's going to be, it's not terribly visible from a great distance or from a high zoom level. Like at this size I can tell, and it's probably worse on the stream, but I can tell a sword is a sword, but I can't really tell that this mustache is a mustache.
I mean, it looks like a mustache from where I am on the stream right now.
Yeah, if I'm zoomed in at like the drawing level, I can tell, but when I zoom
I
out,
still think it looks like a mustache.
I think what I'm gonna do is make the eyes a little taller.
Yeah, it might help. It still looks like a mustache zoomed out. Well, how big are they gonna be in the game? Is what you should really be looking at.
Well, if I were playing on this screen, I mean, they're gonna be like, they'll be bigger than that, like probably this big. So, I mean, that's pretty okay. I would just like for it to be a little more visible, especially because the mustache is the item, and so I could just take that and, make it, like, I would rather just make it yay big, but I want to show specifically, hey, these are head items, because their subcategory doesn't really matter that much. Like, like if we did a monocle versus a mustache, like generally monocles would provide a certain type of bonus as opposed to mustaches, which provide a different kind of bonus or whatever. So you want to be able to identify those to some degree, but really all you need to know if you're equipping it is kind of what is this, like what slot does this go in is really, and that's why I want the head to be visible, because you can only have one head item at a time. And so if you're standing over a monocle and you want to equip it, you've got to know, okay, that's going to replace my mustache.
Mm-hmm. Could you do just a monocle and a top hat or a mustache in the same thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could combine those items. I was trying to think of, like, what are the different item categories that we would want, and on our list of previous item ideas that we were working on, there were, I think there were, like, disguises, spectacles, mustaches, false teeth. I would probably do a pipe for the sorcerer.
Right.
And maybe like a headband, an eye patch for the rogue. Trying to think of what else, like a veil for the beastkeeper. So I was thinking, like, okay, I'll just do an icon for each of those, but all of them appear on the head silhouette thing that I'm drawing right now, so that you can tell, like, that those are just variants on of the head item types.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
I have something to send you after the stream, by the way. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
I like the mustache though. Very Colonel Sandersy.
Yeah, I guess because it's white, just sort of, since we're having to use white so that we can tint it, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an eye patch. I guess I should probably do a mouth.
I like the eye patch too. So each class would have a head slot item.
Well, it's they aren't going to be class dependent, so any class could equip an eye patch to their head slot, for instance,
All right.
or could equip a. But I thought it would be fun to have some that are kind of geared toward being specific to a class.
Mm-hmm.
I think that mouth is actually really crooked. I should look at it without the eye patch on there. Yeah, it's just, that's the fact that it's, well, I mean, maybe like the eye patch would give a bonus that is kind of a rogue-ish bonus, if that makes sense. So it's not, you don't have to be a rogue to use it, but it's the kind of thing that you would want if you're playing as a rogue, or the kind of thing thematically that, would be a rogue bonus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Something to do with thievery and disguise and deception and so on. And so, like, the mustache would probably give you some kind of magical bonus or whatever, since that's kind of a sorcerer type thing. Or same thing with the pipe.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I thought you might have been going for like what Borderlands has with the class mods.
Well, for the class mod sort of thing, like we're probably going to have something like that, but it's just that's going to like I wanted to avoid having anything that was class specific, but that's where it does cause problems. Is like you you know, you don't really want classes to get other classes special abilities, and we toyed with trying to make it like limited use, but it just like really complicated things and just kind of didn't feel like it was worth it to go through that complication. So I thought, well, okay, maybe the only class specific item would be something like the Borderlands class mod, that so the rogue gets something that modifies the rogue's special ability really specifically. And probably like I was trying to figure out a way so that if you find one, I mean, it might just be like, you might just find like a class mod level 1, and it's, you know, it modifies the rogue in this way and the gladiator in that way, but that's kind of less fun because it's not thematic. So, I don't know. But I don't want characters to find a bunch of equipment that they can't pick up because you have limited inventory. It would be, you know, difficult to take in and drop it off in a guild room for you to use on your other classes and so on. So I kind of want everyone to be able to equip basically everything. And that, so I was I was thinking like maybe you can't drop off your these kind of guild class mods. You can't put them in the guild room to use for later. Like you find one, and if we're generating them, like if you're playing as a rogue, we can always generate a rogue class item. So as a rogue, you only ever find those. And then if you're a gladiator, you only ever find gladiator. So the only problem is, okay, if you can drop items off in like a kind of a chest of holding sort of thing, that, or like the bank in Borderlands, where you can leave items there and get them out later, even if you load up a different character class, you can get those out later. So the trick would be, okay, like, how do we make it so maybe the gladiator just can't take rogue class mods out of the bank, or maybe you just can't put class mods in the bank at all. They're just kind of like, you use them for that run, and they're more like power-ups in that sense, I guess. And we could make them kind of function that way. Like you pick one up and it's just like glowy flash, and it's just, you know, maybe you can't actually put them in your inventory at all, except the moment you equip them, they're used, and you don't drop your previous one. You're just activating this new magical thing. I guess the other way we could do it is make the class mods based on shrines or something you find, and so you walk up to this thing and it like blesses you with a class mod instead of being an inventory item.
Right, which would be a cool way to do it. The shrine doesn't sound like a bad idea either. Did you want to get a thumbnail for this? I forgot to mention it last week.
Did we not do? I thought we did one last week.
We didn't. I'm bad at my job.
Man, I could have sworn we did. Do I need to make one for last week too?
No, not unless you want to. I've already got it uploaded.
Okay.
I was just distracted with the 24-hour live stream. I forgot to mention it last week. And also, we had that internet crash last week too, which kind of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But both are up. A little late. Usually I try to do it on Sundays, but I was pretty much dead from Sunday to Monday, so.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But this one will probably be up tonight to make up for it.
I don't know if it looks kind of like a coffee mug or something too, so I might have to work on that a little more. Okay. Well, what do you think? Do we want to make a specific assortment?
Which ones are your favorites?
Or maybe we could just make a sort of a lineup.
Yeah, I would say take whichever ones you like the most and put them on a lineup.
I like doing what I was doing earlier. I need to hide some of these. Unfortunately, all the text isn't on the same layer, and I really just want to... Actually, here's how I'll do it. I'll just turn all the text black, so you can't
Maybe
see
the
it.
shovel, the broom, the scythe. 'cause I think all three. I think those three are pretty funny and cool looking at the same time. I really like the Scythe one. Came out really cool.
Sorry, it's gonna take a second for it to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hide all the text, and my computer's dying.
If you weren't on a Mac.
Well, I don't know if this is. I mean, I don't think this has to be. Has to do with it being a Mac. It's just partly. Well, this computer's like 5 years old and running lots of things, including just like a really high-res Photoshop file. Oh, come on. I could never remember what folder I put our stream covers on. Okay, I found it. Dying again. I don't want to move that many things.
Just grab whatever you think would look good and doesn't kill your computer.
Yeah, it's fine now. It was still I had too many layers selected, and it was trying to move everything in the entire scene, in the entire file. And I can give this to you after the stream too. We don't have to do it right this second if we want.
Yeah, that's fine.
We can go ahead and kind of close down.
Yeah, that's fine. So thanks for coming, everybody, for what was planned to be a short stream, but we went the full time, which is good. Unless Baker's got anything else, I don't have anything else to report, except that you guys are all awesome, and we appreciate the support.
Thank you, as always.
And congratulations to Baker getting married.
Yeah, thank you.
In 4 weeks, Baker.
Mm-hmm.
You excited?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Have a big shindig out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Here's where I revealed Doom and I are planning a Ocean's 11 style heist on your wedding.
What are you on the wedding itself? Like what?
Yeah,
what would you
on the
even
wedding.
steal?
We're gonna kidnap you, of course.
Oh, okay. To make sure I work on the game instead of existing
Yes.
in happily married, like newlywed bliss or whatever it's called.
Yes, exactly.
I see.
I've given the plot away, unfortunately, but you'll never see it coming. We've got
Okay.
a deep plan for this. I won't say that some people on Pixelscopic are assisting us, but some people on Pixelscopic are assisting us.
Oh, really?
Can't say any names.
My first guess would be Matt.
I can't say one way or the other. They're not there today though, so, and that might be for a reason.
I really love this little assortment of weapons.
Yeah, it
This
looks
is
really
basically
neat.
my favorite thing in the world. Is doing this kind of thing.
I like the death rattle.
I want now. I just want a T-shirt of that.
I'd wear it. No one would know what the hell is going on, but people ask me about the Delver's Drop shirt when I wear it out. They like the symbols.
Yeah, we need to get the rest of those shipped someday soon. Well, we're not gonna see everything, but I think that's I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good too. And we'll figure something out for when you are off on your honeymoon and stuff. for the stream. I still vote for you guys putting out a build, and I'll just play the build for like an hour.
Okay.
Even if nobody else gets it. I'm definitely
selfish
okay
here.
I'm definitely okay with that. Not selfish. Not selfish. It's you know, it's a reward for dedication.
I see.
And I may or may not leak it to Doom, so that he can also play it. And we can continue our control of having the most hours in the game. Which at this point I'm pretty sure is firmly cemented. I don't think we have to worry about our playtimes being tarnished. Doom saying that I'll be the one impersonating you at the wedding, so people don't know that that you're gone. I don't think it's gonna work, unfortunately. Baker's quite a bit taller than I am, and I know that because I've met him in person. And everyone that works at Pixelscopic are giants.
I don't know about that. I'm not that tall.
You're what, 5'10"?
Yeah, pretty much.
Kobe's what, like 6?
Yeah, over 6 feet tall.
Matthew's pretty tall.
I think I'm taller than Matt.
Really? I thought you guys were around the same height. I thought he was a little taller. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I don't know. Maybe I'm incorrect as well.
You're a little taller than Nathan, but Nathan makes up for it with his beard. It's hard work. Yeah, I'll have to wear stilts, Doom. Then Doom says stilts. Yep. Yeah, I'll have to wear stilts to impersonate anybody at Pixelscopic. And I'll have to be able to grow a beard because almost everybody there has facial hair.
That is true.
Except Matt, last I saw, but maybe he is growing it out now.
Sometimes he has some facial hair, but he's usually more clean shaven, I guess.
I mean, I have my soul patch, but that's not much. I really like the weapon icons, Baker. They look pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah, this is one of the more fun things that I get to work on, so it's good to hear. Actually, I need to probably zoom in a little bit more. And I already saved that, so drop this in. I'm gonna have to scale up a little.
Someone is at my door, Baker.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna end the call here if that's cool with you.
That's fine.
So thanks again, guys, and we will see you next week, as far as I know. But if not, we'll tweet it out.
Hopefully it's not like an axe murderer at your door or something.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, I'll talk to you later, Baker.
Okay, see ya. And I will just finish this up and then shut the stream down. Thank you again, everyone, for showing up today. I know we're usually pretty scattered, but hopefully it's still enjoyable.